All right, guys, welcome back to Whiskey and Wolves. I am Christopher Lamy, owner of Canine Coaching with Chris. I am here with my amazing friend and dog trainer, Evan Stewart of K-Pro Canine. And we have got a monster topic today.
It is a
very
monster.
cool topic. We're going to try to get through it in our allotted time of 45 minutes to an hour, but it is so important.
Yeah.
The topic we're talking about today is, what does your dog need from you? This is very basic information, but it is so important. But before we dive into all the things you need to be giving your dog, whiskey.
Whiskey,
what do we
for
have?
Sure, man. So today we have Redbreast, right? So Redbreast is an Irish whiskey, and I don't know a ton about it, but I had a friend of mine some years ago kind of put me onto this, and she was like, dude, this is like really, really nice, right? So I wanted to kind of, sample it today on the show. It is a single pot still Irish whiskey, aged 12 years, right? And like, it's going to have some sherry notes in there and some other stuff. I'm really, really looking forward to it. As soon as I can get it open,
You've had this before, huh?
I have had it.
Very nice.
I have had it. It's been some years since I really, imbibed, but yeah.
I was reading the box a little bit beforehand. It's a beautiful bottle. I'm a big fan of Irish whiskey. Irish Channel is one of our favorites that we've had on here so far.
Yeah.
But the Redbreast refers to a robin, correct?
Of course. Yeah.
My mom's name is Robin. I'm a big fan of robins as the bird. And it was saying that robins are the only bird in Ireland that chooses to sing its song during the winter, which I found thought it was pretty interesting.
That smells good even. Man, look at that. Get a little pour here, see what's going on. Just a little guy.
Thank you very much.
In filming this morning, I'll tell you, it is morning. We usually do this in the afternoon or evening. We both got to work the rest of the day, so we're going to try not to get hammered today.
Cheers.
Cheers, my dude. Oh. That's delightful.
You stole the word right out of my mouth.
That is delightful.
That is delightful. It is smooth.
It's unbelievably good. That makes me angry. We might get drunk here anyway.
Oh man, this early in the morning? I'm okay with it. That's really, really good. Really light. Say light. I don't mean light in a bad way at all.
No.
But it is light. It's smooth. It's
fruity.
It's a good morning whiskey.
It is what it is. Good morning whiskey.
Perfect choice. Thank you very much.
Let's go.
That's amazing.
Get another little tweet here. Hold on.
All right, great job, Redbird.
That's too good, yeah.
Redbreast, excuse me.
Redbreast.
That's delicious.
Redbreast, man.
All right, let's jump in here.
Jump in, bro.
What does your dog need from you? And let's start at the top. What we're using, the Maslow's theory.
Yeah,
correct?
so like Maslow's hierarchies, for those of you who don't know, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs breaks things down into what an organism needs in order to be successful, right? Throughout its life, right? So biological needs, emotional needs, social needs. In this case, because we're going to talk about dogs, right? Like training and learning needs, and then some cognitive needs as well.
And what I found interesting when we were walking through this and getting and preparing is how all of these intertwine and how they all play together. You can't have one without the other. And by making sure that you're giving your dog what they need biologically, if you're doing it at least halfway correctly, you're also going to hit some of those emotional needs and some of those social needs too. And so let's begin with the biological needs, right? The things that just the basic necessities of safety and food and water and exercise and grooming and some of these things that your dog you just have to give your dog.
Right. So in biological needs, it's all about keeping the dog actually physically healthy, right? So, gentle grooming, gentle vet, care, and gentle's an interesting word there because like, take this for what it is. We do want somebody to be gentle with our dogs whenever they are vulnerable. I know that I personally, often just interview my vets before I ever let them mess with my dogs.
And you told me this before. I don't know if it was on the show or one of our previous conversations prior to, but I love that idea.
Yeah.
And it is something that I have started doing myself. And it's a great idea.
And like, I'll start online looking at reviews and that kind of thing. And then I'll talk around the community. And then I usually, like book an office visit with 3 or 4. If I don't have like a resounding overwhelming response from the community, right? And then sometimes like I just go interview that one guy and be like, hey, or girl or whatever, and be like, hey, are we, is it going to be okay or not? But I think it's really, really important that we really dig in on every level, right? Whenever we're taking care of dogs, making sure that even the vet that we are using, is easy to, and has a great bedside manner. It makes you more comfy when things are stressful and your dog has to be at the vet, as opposed to when they just go in for inoculations. Even the way that they structure their office sometimes, and the level of lighting, you know what I mean? All that stuff can really play in.
So, and that's where I was going to go with that on this topic of vets. I think it's very important to make sure that your vet, and almost all of them do, have some amount of dog knowledge, right? Absolutely, they don't need to be experts, but they should have some amount of dog knowledge, because a lot of dogs have some trouble going into a vet office.
They really do.
And it makes sense, right? Think about what they are smelling when they walk up there. Dogs can smell emotion. They can smell fear. They can smell happiness. They can smell these death, right?
Yeah, I was going to say,
there's a lot of things going on at the vet's office. And so if you have a vet who is just kind of, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and they're not taking that dog's needs into consideration, then it can be even more of a detrimental experience.
Absolutely.
Which your dog will remember for the next time, and the next time. And you're setting yourself up for failure.
I've seen vets, right, that do this thing, man, where, we've all been to the doctor too here in the US, right? And like sometimes it's the same thing, right? Where they have like 5 minutes they want to spend with you, right?
And you can tell that they only have 5 minutes.
They're rushing, right? Like I much rather prefer a vet that's going to come in, maybe have a smaller practice, but is going to come in, spend a little time, really get to know you, your dog, and really care about what's going on, instead of looking at it and going, oh, it's got a swollen eye, that must be this. Let's throw some medicine at it and see what happens, right? Well, why does your dog have a swollen eye today? Is always a great question. You know what I mean? So like, I want a vet that's really inquisitive to the nature of what we're doing as well. Right. And so, that's really important. When we pair that, right, with some of the other concepts that you mentioned before, like, physical safety, we've got to provide a safe environment for dogs. Managing that environment across the spectrum is really massively important. And vets, again, vets offices, no exception to that. Pet stores, no exception to that. Whether or not we go to the dog park, don't do it. No exception to that. You know what I mean? Like, all those things, right, is managing that physical safety. Then we need to feed our dogs well too, right? And I tell people this all the time. This is my favorite, right? Is people go, okay, so what do you feed your dog? And I go, well, I feed my dog what works, right? But also hear me out, right? I do spend a lot of money on dog food. I do spend a lot of money feeding dogs. But I also spend a lot of money feeding me. And so the thing that I've told people for years is I'm like, if you're eating Ruth's Chris, don't feed your dog McDonald's. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, if you're eating McDonald's, don't feed your dog Ruth Chris. Like put them at your same level of basic socioeconomic, advantage, and force, like push into whatever food that you can find that's the best food you can afford.
And you said a few things that I found very important across the spectrum, right? We're giving you this very general information.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things, we'll stop right here and say, if you do have specific questions about this, because we're going to kind of push through relatively quick. If you have specific questions about your dog or general dogs, please put them in the comments, because we can't cover all of the things, right? Food, for example, eating. I have some research left to do still on dog food to become to where I would like to be as far as being a professional. But you said it. Do what works, right? There is such a wide range, financially speaking, and what's in the food, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Purina and some of these puppy chows have far different ingredients than like a Royal Canin or a Rachel Ray or something like that. The brands are very wide, and especially in the price range. Do what you can afford. But I would like to take a moment here and talk about feeding, right?
Sure.
Dogs, we talk about their sense of smell all the time. Their sense of taste is connected to their sense of smell. So if you're feeding your dog dry dog food morning and night, you're doing your dog a disservice.
I mean,
they're going to eat. And yes, you are filling that biological need of giving them food. But imagine sitting down and eating a sandwich every single day for breakfast and a sandwich every single day for night. You're missing an opportunity to give them a little bit more fulfilling.
I would agree. So like enriching your dog's food, even kibble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Enriching your dog's food with bone broths and, carrots and blueberries.
Right. And it can be very
stuff.
simple. Chicken broth is something very simple. A little sprinkle of cheese, as long as it's not harmful to them and you give them in small amounts, give them a little treat, make it an appetizer, make it enticing. And that you're not only fulfilling that biological need, but giving them something a little extra that is going to hit on some of the other needs that we're about to hit on, including the emotional needs and the social needs. Yeah. And you're showing them that, look, I love you and I'm giving you this because I love you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a good one to move on from the biological to the emotional needs. Yeah. And dogs are very emotional creatures.
Super.
And this is one of the things personally that has really struck me as I continue to walk down this path as a professional with dogs in my home all the time, is the breadth of emotions that dogs can experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Everyone knows that your dog can get sad when you leave the house. Yeah. Right. The depth of that is shocking to me.
At times, yeah, it can be.
Right. And
especially dogs that are really struggling with that, because some dogs are cool with it, right? Like, like my dog Siege, right? I've got a 9.5-year-old bulldog. She's awesome. If I leave her on the couch, she's just as happy to lay on the couch all day as she is to do anything else, I think. You know what I mean? And it doesn't stress her out at all. But dogs that are struggling, to your point, man, holy cow. Right. They can really struggle.
They really, really can. And so the 4 things that we have written down here, and I actually want to read these because I think they're very important.
They're really important.
So the emotional needs that your dog has: trust, consistency, love, and novelty, something new, right? New experiences, socialization. These are vitally important.
Trust, especially, right?
Trust, especially.
And one of the things that I found in training that I think is really, really important, right, is like whenever you're looking at training, understand that, like, you want your dog to be happy when you're working, right? If we're also laying in heavy corrections and compulsion, you're pulling that trust rug right back out from underneath them. You know what I mean? Every
single time you're making them question, can I trust this human?
Right. So leadership done really, really well in my mind, right? And in a brief, right, is leadership that's massively consistent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, that builds trust, that consistency, that routine that we have with our dogs absolutely builds trust. It's massively important that it's also a loving routine. It's a caring routine. It's an empathetic routine. Like a lot of people don't understand how, how to have real empathy for their dogs and put themselves in their dog's shoes kind of thing. And then some people do that to a degree that anthropomorphizes their dogs.
Yes.
Right. But like that consistency by which we engage is going to build trust naturally. And
it's not only is it going to build trust, but it's going to set the boundaries that are going to help your dog understand what their role is in your life and in your home. Yes. And you're right. I think trust and consistency go hand in hand, and all the biological needs that we talked about, putting them into a vet that is going to treat them properly, making sure that you give them food every single day when they need it. And they have clean exercise. They have exercise. And we skipped right over exercise. But exercise is really important. Vitally important. And one of the things that I think that isn't necessarily on this list, but we can talk about it in a way that we did last week, is being intentional.
Oh,
right?
Sure.
Showing your dog, hey, I'm making you something for dinner, right? I'm intentionally making you something for dinner because I love you.
Right.
And you can show your dog this through your actions. And so your intentionality and your living purposefully will build that trust.
I agree.
And if you do it consistently, it's going to consistently build trust.
Absolutely. And loving your dog, right? Like really spending that like tender time with your dog, right? Is kind of the way that I think about it. Like I've got these big working dogs, right? Like I've got Mal's, everybody knows. And like, I will still baby them in my lap from time to time, like my wife's got pictures of me like cradling all of my dogs, like, and because they want to be there. It's not because like I held them there and I'm like, oh, I'm going to hold you now. It's like, hey dude, you came over, laid in my lap, rolled over, and I'm just sitting here scratching your belly and having a nice time with you. You know what I mean? Like that stuff's really important, even for dogs that are big, tough dogs.
Absolutely. One of my favorite rewards to give a dog is to cradle them like a baby. Oh. Not all dogs like it, obviously, but the ones that do, it's, oh my God, I love it. It's more for me than him.
It really is, man. You're like, I just want to hold you.
But with my dogs at home, my training dogs, I have, my schedule. We wake up at 7, we feed at 8:30, and we have our own schedule. I have cuddle time at 6:00.
Absolutely.
And that's not the only time we cuddle, but we have a designated cuddle time where we either get on the floor or out in the grass or wherever, because it's a need. it's not something your dog wants from you. It's something they actually need from you. And there's a big difference.
Yeah. To neglect it is to do just that. Right.
And if you're having a slight issue with your dog, not seeming like they don't want to do what you're wanting to do.
Or hang out with you.
Right. Yeah. Take 10 minutes and get on the floor with them.
Yep.
Take 10 minutes and just lay on your back and roll around like a child.
Yeah.
See if it makes a difference.
And the other one that's here is novelty. And this is like really, really important as well. Right. So, doing things with your dog that are new and exciting for both you and your dog, right? Like this builds a lot of relationship and trust. Right. And so like really cultivating this and saying, hey man, I want to adventure with you. I want to hang out with you. I want to go places. Like these are all ways that we really meet those emotional needs of dogs. Go on a hike with your dog, right? Yes. Somewhere you've never been before, right? Go to the beach if you live near one, right? Like whatever that is, get out with your dog and go. And here's my favorite, like go witness something majestic, right? Like go look at something that makes you go, man, that's cool. Because if you're doing that, chances are your dog's doing that too.
And that feeling is contagious. There's two things that I think are very important about this, about the novelty aspect. One is dog related, one's human related. If we talked about this last time, using your dog as an excuse to go experience something awe-inspiring, right? Use your dog to say, well, I know my dog needs to go walk. I'm going to go walk on the sunset. You both get something very beautiful out of the experience.
Absolutely.
The other side of that is when you bring your dog into these new situations and just a new situation, you're teaching them a lot of things, right? But mostly you're teaching them new experiences, new places aren't scary. Right. And this is vitally important if you have a dog that was under socialized or has some issues from being in a shelter or whatever. If you have a lingering COVID dog, right, that stayed inside for a year and a half and they still haven't had those feelings addressed. This helps them learn new things are not scary.
Right.
And ultimately what you're doing is you're building that dog's self-confidence.
I agree.
You're building their self-confidence through exposure and through novelty and through socialization.
And giving them a little cause for curiosity, right?
Absolutely.
Like just allow them to explore a little bit. Absolutely. It's so important. You know?
And again, and I think it's very important to say it again, that what we're talking about, there's a difference between a want and a need.
Right.
These things, every one of these that we're talking about is something your dog actually needs from you in order to be the happiest, healthiest dog that they can be. This is not something that's just, well, if I get a chance to. They need it.
Like one of the things as a professional dog trainer that I've actually turned clients down on over the years, right? Like I'll turn a client down if they're like, I don't want to have to take my dog anywhere. I don't want to have to do anything with my dog. I just want you to make my dog behave at my house. No, we're not working together.
Yep.
You cannot have me for that. You cannot have me to take your dog and stuff it into your box that you made for your life for that, right? Like that. No, you have a dog. They need things. You need to be able to provide those things if you're going to own one. The Chihuahua that never sees the outside of its quarter acre lot for 14 years is really a messed up dog often.
Yes.
Like some of these smaller dogs have this reputation of being like aggressive and angry and mean. And it's because people don't treat them like dogs. They don't take them into nature. They don't go hang out with them.
Right. You're 100% right.
They don't build it,
They treat them like an accessory instead of a dog. And their mindset gets twisted.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest
distorted
way to say it.
Yeah, it really is. And like, it's so important. I had one of my favorite clients ever though was a Chihuahua. His name was Cuervo. And this is, I'm sure at this point he's actually passed, but like, rip Cuervo, but he was a really, really cool little dog. Right. And his people absolutely treated him like a regular dog. They went adventuring with him. They went off leash with him, like hiking and stuff like that. Right. And it's like, like that dog acted like a dog. He was social with everybody. He wanted to hang out with everybody. He put all of the tropey Chihuahua things to absolute bed, right? Like, no, forget it. Like, this isn't that guy. And it's because his people looked at him and went, oh no, dude, you're just a little German Shepherd. You know what I mean? Like you're just the mini me of that. Right. Well, and so they just took him out the same way.
And you're hitting on something beautiful. They set the boundaries that they expected for their dog. And we are training these dogs and teaching these dogs to live by our boundaries.
Yeah.
And dogs are a beautiful creature, right? They are, dogs, in my opinion, are the only or quote that it's not my opinion, a dog quote that I've heard.
Yeah.
Dogs are the only creature in the world that will love you more than they love themselves.
Yeah, that brings us right into social needs, man.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Social needs is perfect because if you're doing even the things that we've talked about thus far, you're going to be fulfilling those social needs.
Yeah. So like social needs, really like those things like secure attachments abilities, right? And bonding and play. Like we talked about like how to build some of these things in emotional needs. Like this is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Absolutely.
Where it's like, man, they need like a partner that they can count on and trust and that's going to provide for them the things that they need that they can't have access to in our world and our life. They need that bonding with us,
which makes perfect sense too, right? Look at dog history, whether it's 15,000, 25, 100,000, doesn't matter. For all of these years, what has dog's purpose been with man? It's to be their partner. It's to be their
best friend,
best friend,
really
and their
is,
work partner and things like that. So dogs look to us and understand in a very, very real and guttural way that if this man or woman is happy, my life is better.
Absolutely.
So what do I need to do to make this human's life better? And they're going to knock it out the park every time, as long as we're consistent with filling their needs and setting their expectations for their behavior.
I agree, and like taking that time to really be in relationship with them, right? Like that's that stuff that I think is also really important. That time to play with your dog, that time to cuddle your dog. Like even in training, like we all do it, right? Like we set those things, like you said before, like we set those things aside and we go, no, even my training dog's like, I'm going to cuddle my training dog. Absolutely. We call it at K-Pro, we call it house time. Everybody gets house time, right? Where it's like, hey man, you're going to come in, you're going to sit on the couch, you're going to hang out with us. You're going to be groovy with us. You're a client dog. Like, I want to make you as comfy as I can, because if you're stressed out, you're not learning.
You're not going to learn.
Yeah. And so like, man, I just want to make you like just as comfortable and in a zen space as I can possibly make you.
And the most beautiful thing about this, we're not asking you or telling you to do something that's like, all right, you're going to have to do this and it's going to suck.
A lot of work. It's going to take
You're going to have a fucking blast.
Yeah, no,
it's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
You're going to get as much, if not more out of it than your dog will. I mean, you get to cuddle with someone who is so excited that they can't control themselves.
No, absolutely.
If I got down on the floor with you and you like peed yourself out of excitement, I mean, maybe not peed, but like if you were so excited that you couldn't control yourself, I'd be over here tomorrow to do it again.
I mean, like a little pee.
I mean, a little bit. Just don't get me wet.
But
Sorry, that was gross.
Like, no. But here's the deal, right? It's like at the end of the day, though, it really is important to like, experience the child in you with your dog as well.
Absolutely.
Really find that foundation of who you are next to your dog. And that doesn't mean that like, hey, we baby talk him into the stratosphere. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like what it really means to me. And I've said this to people for years and years. I said, man, if you're just calm and cool and collected with your dog, you're going to fall into a relationship you didn't know existed. A lot of people want to baby dogs, right? Like we have a whole industry that makes strollers for dogs. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Like we make all these little tutus for dogs. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Like don't do that stuff. I'm not saying, hey, let's baby our dogs into the stratosphere. But what I'm really saying is like, find the core.
Find your inner child. I love the way you say that. Yeah.
Find that soul. You know what I mean? And connect at that really deep level. Right.
And if you get to, we're going to talk spirituality here for a second.
Yeah.
You talk about spirituality. Find your inner child is that is the key to living a more healthy life for yourself. Let's forget about dogs for a moment, right? If you can again, use this dog as an excuse to get on the floor and play, which seems as a grown man seems like something you would never do.
Oh, I'm too good.
Right. But you are going to, again, you're going to get more out of it than you recognize.
And in truth, right? Like, bring that peace and comfort back into yourself, right?
And giving yourself that time just to say, I know I have bills. I know I have 100%. A test due. I know I have work stuff. I know I have kid problems. But I'm going to give myself this time to go forget about all that for 10 minutes. And hang out with my dog and be a kid. That stuff's going to be there when you get back. I promise you. It's not going anywhere. But I like meditate. I think of it as a meditative state, right? This is you can use this as a meditation.
Yeah.
And meditation, in my opinion, is kind of like hitting the reset button on a computer.
Sure.
Give yourself that reset. Give yourself those just a couple of minutes to just clear out and then start back fresh.
Absolutely. We can acknowledge those things, right? That are troubling us, but we don't have to linger on them. We can let those things go. I mean, like we can walk all the way through meditation and just, being with a dog and going, hey, I want to pet your belly. Now I want to massage your shoulders. Now I want to, just feel those little velvety ears. All that stuff will absolutely, in a lot of ways, to your point, kind of help center you, right? It's one of the things that I think a lot of guys, myself included, right? Like I've got my own service dog for PTSD.
Same.
Right. And like, I think it's one of the things that a lot of guys like us do is we're like, no, man, my dog actually has a much better sensor suite than I do, like sensory suite. So like if my dog's chill, I can be chill too. And it's therapeutic.
And we're going exactly to what we've been talking about kind of this episode last time is we use our dogs as an excuse.
Absolutely.
Right. I need to be chill for Sydney Michael.
Yeah.
But you can use Phantom as it's Phantom.
Yep.
Right. The one that you're service animal.
Yeah.
You can use Phantom as your ability for strength.
Yeah.
Even
absolutely.
when you don't think you have it, you can look down at him and say, no, I'm good.
No, I'm good. I'm good. He's good.
He's good. He's
Everybody's
here.
good,
I'm
right?
good.
And so, yeah, but like that bond, right? Like that's essential for a dog. Like
and it's essential, and it's also important to say that you didn't get that bond by not doing all this. You did it by doing all of this stuff
things.
that we're
Absolutely.
talking about. Absolutely.
And then, that leads us right into the training.
Leads us right into training.
The first thing in training, right? First cardinal rule is just do no harm. Like don't scream and yell at your dogs. Don't throw things at your dogs. Don't read William B. Keeler's book on dog training and think that that's the way to go. Realize that thing is a million years old. You know what I mean? Million years old, and nobody's using a slingshot to stop fence running anymore. That's real in that book. That's abusive.
Yes.
Right. I know some trainers that are still recommending Keeler methods. And I'm like, that's abusive, guys. I don't know why we're doing it. Meanwhile, I'm not afraid of tools. Yes. Right. Like we use tools. We're just not, abusive with the application. And that's really important.
Tools and not to jump into a political argument, but tools are similar to guns. Guns aren't bad. They can be used for good or bad. The tools that we use, right? And maybe using a gun was a bad analogy, but the tools that we use, if in the right hands, they're tools to communicate.
Yeah.
And that's what they should be used as, not as a way to punish or really
and build that vocab with them, right? Like that's really important to build vocabulary. Dogs have both almost like a vocal vocabulary that they can respond to those vocal cues that we have, but they can also respond to body language cues.
Absolutely.
Right. And tactile inputs that we give them. Right. So like building that vocabulary to build those responses, if you're doing that in a really heavy-handed way, all the things that we just went through, you pull the rug right out from underneath them. Yep. So like
they're not going to feel safe. They're not going to trust you.
100%.
They're not going to, not that they won't love you.
Yeah, but they might not at the end, right? Because here's the thing. I get really passionate about this, obviously, guys. But like, hear me out, right? Like, I've seen so many people who began training with a dog who is absolutely head over heels for them. Right. And especially in like the working dog world, the dog was head over heels for their people, right? Before they began bite work or before they began this or before they began that. And because of the human's desire for a certain expression of behavior,
which is control, right? Desire for control,
right? They pushed it too far and they broke their relationship. And then they're going back going, well, I provide all the physical safety, nutrition, fresh water, sufficient exercise, indoors, like all the things, right? I've never broken trust with my dog. Oh, maybe you have, And so like really when it comes to the training thing, make sure that you're doing it in a way that like isn't just cranking dogs around, isn't actually painful, isn't born in anger in you, right? Like we say this all the time, train happy, but like what I really mean is train happy.
Yes, we mean it. Yeah. If you're not smiling and enjoying it, then you're honestly, you're kind of doing it wrong. It should be fun.
You're messing it up. Yeah.
And to your point specifically, I've seen it time and time again in the military working dog community. Yeah. Right. You have these individuals who think, no, my dog needs to be perfect, and they just overdo it. But to a grander point, the community, the teaching your dog through vocabulary and through training, we use the word vocabulary and we instantly kind of think of words. Yeah. Right. And that's very important. Your dog should learn that, hey, when you hear this specific word, you have an action associated with it.
Sure.
When you hear the word sit, your action is to put your cute little booty on the ground.
Yep.
Right. And so that is very, very important. But this is nuanced. I want to take a couple minutes here.
Get it?
Dogs are not always listening to us, right? We talk a lot. They are not vocal learners, right? They're not learning through listening in the same way that we do.
No.
So when you do address your dog, make sure they know you're talking to them, first of all.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind how dogs really do learn. They may not be listening to every word you're saying. I promise you, they're watching every move you make.
Yeah.
They have nothing else to do. They're watching you all the time, whether you think they are or not. So again, we go back to that intentionality, the purposefulness, right? If you're with your dog, be intentional about your actions, your tone of voice, your movements. I catch myself all the time, but I'll look at Sydney and he's got that like fearful look, which Sydney has a lot of fear still.
Yeah. Still working
just
on it.
naturally,
Still
right?
working
He's
on
just
it,
a naturally fearful dog. But if I bust through a doorway, if I'm having a rough day and I bust through a doorway and then like I come and I slam something on the counter, he's going to tell me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's on me to kind of, all right, Chris, calm down. All right. But my point in saying that is this: dogs are complete experts at body language.
Right.
They can read us literally like a book.
Yeah.
They can also memorize, I think it's about 150 facial expressions.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any more than 150 facial expressions, which means they can probably memorize all of them.
And there was actually, like, to piggyback on that real quick, there was a recent study that said that dogs understand probably more of our language than we give them credit for.
Probably more than we do, right? Think of all the humans we know.
Yeah.
Think about the difficulty we have
in communicating
with other humans.
Yeah.
And this is a completely different species, but that we have I don't think fully have come to the extent of how to communicate with them.
Exactly.
I think they have.
I think they figured us out, man.
I think so too. And so again, to wrap all this up, basically what I'm saying is when you are not just teaching your dog or training your dog by the words you're saying, you're teaching them constantly.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't think you're teaching them, your dog's still learning.
Yeah, I've said it like this for years, just like that, right? I'm like, man, every interaction you have with your dog is a training moment. Mm-hmm. Even if you think you're not training, your dog always is, right?
Absolutely.
Because they are always in that pattern recognition software in their brain, just understanding what's happening next. We've talked about that previously on the show, but guys, hear me out. Like, dogs are really, really good at figuring us out. They're using the same portion of their brain to do it that helped their ancestors survive in the wild, right? Pick the weak one out of the herd, like that whole 9 yards, man. Like all that good pattern recognition software they have, they're running all the time, like trying to figure out like what's going on in their world. How do we engage people? How do people engage us? Mm-hmm. Why do we do the things we do? And to your point, whenever I come in, like after having like a bad day, right? Like say I went to the mailbox and I got a bill I didn't expect or something, and I come in, if I'm visibly kind of like pissy, like my dogs are like,
your dogs show it.
I'm going to give you some space, big guy. I'm out of here. My dog Seeds that we talked about earlier.
I love Seeds.
She's awesome.
She's amazing.
Dude, she's so in tune with me that if I come in and I'm kind of like grouchy, I come down the stairs in the morning and I'm grouchy. She's like, nope, I'll go lay with the boy. I'll go into a different room. Like, it's like I enter the room and she's like, nope, you stink. I'm out. You know what I mean? Yep. And I'm like, oh man. That's one of those things that I've used over the years.
Today.
Man.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's one of the things over the years that I'm like, yeah, you know what, dude, maybe I need to look at myself right now, and go, hey, if my dog sees it, everybody else around me definitely knows. Right. And it's coming back out of, military service and all the things that everybody's had to do there. Right. Sometimes like having that little bellwether, that little canary in your coal mine is helpful. You know what I mean?
Yes, you are. Yes. To say it very lightly. Yes. Sorry, before we go on some crazy tangent about all of our trauma, let's, I think this is a really easy transition into the final one, which is cognitive needs, the mental needs. And basically what we just described, right? What we just talked about in their training needs is, here's the way I look at it. There's a very big difference between teaching and learning.
Absolutely.
Right. You can teach your dog what you want, or they can learn. Those are two different things. They're doing both. Now on this alley, when they are learning, what are they involving? What are they they're using their problem solving abilities.
Absolutely.
Now let's take a little step back in dog history, right? Dogs were scavengers. Dogs are to their core, they are scavengers, along with a lot of other things,
and hunters and
hunters and all these other things, right? But they are scavengers. And so that takes a certain amount of problem solving skills. And so you can use this idea of problem solving, one, to be intentional with your actions, right? Because they are learning, but also in the training process, you can do all of these things that we've been talking about. The novelty issue, take them to a new place and let them sit there, let them figure it out, right? Figure it out. Use your problem solving abilities. Use the brain games that they have, all those neat little toys that they're coming out with, right? Make them think, give them some cognitive progression, because a dog that is not, and maybe this is a little strict, but I think a dog that is not progressing is eventually going to decline.
Yeah, I would say so, right? Like, I'll tell you this. I mean, even now, there are things that we do with Siege at 9.5 years old as a bulldog, right? That's like, hey, kiddo, like,
I've seen her hang from her tug.
Yeah, all kinds of little stuff that's like, hey, she's got to figure out like how to play this game, or she'll go, whatever it is, right? Because like, want to keep her sharp, want to keep her on her toes, and that kind of stuff's really, really important. It gives that dog like it allows them to kind of how do I want to say this? Kind of exude a little bit of their own agency,
Absolutely.
In their life.
Yeah, I love
right?
that.
And that experience.
Learning new stuff is fun. And we talked about boosting confidence earlier. When you learn something new, your confidence boosts.
Yeah.
Right. You're doing, again, all of these are kind of tied into each other.
And they do. They interlace to make a good life, right? And that's the real answer. Like, that's our challenge to people, even on this podcast, right? Is like, please help your dog make, like, live a better life. Like, at K-Pro, we talk about, we help people and dogs live life more abundantly. Like, that's our little tagline, right? And the idea of abundant life is a life that's full of great experience and togetherness and, really full of, all these things, bond and play and, consistency and trust and love. And yeah, you can touch me.
A little touch.
Yeah. And take it for what it is, like that stuff, even for us, really, really does as humans, it's like the spice of life, right? Like, we've got to have a certain amount of this. Dogs are the same way, right? Where like, they have to have a good life in order to be happy and well fulfilled in your world, right? So like, the thing that we do most often in dog training is we try to help people understand all these things we're talking about today in depth sometimes, so that they can understand the grave importance of making sure that your dog is fulfilled. The whole picture that we've painted today is about fulfillment for your animal. A fulfilled animal is a happy animal. A happy animal does not create a bunch of problems in your home often.
I agree,
what I mean?
100%.
Whenever they understand the expectations of life, when they understand what's going on, when they have like clear, objectives, expectations that then are fulfilled and rewarded, like all these things give a sense of purpose and fulfillment to your animal. And like, that's massively important.
It's important. And this animal is living with you. Energy is contagious. Absolutely. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And so if you have this animal that has an abundance of energy, really, that is contagious.
Yeah.
So why would you not want that thing to be happy and healthy?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think we've kind of skirted around, and I think is an interesting idea, just hit me. When we get calls, right? When we get calls for clients, my dog's doing this, my dog's doing this, my dog's doing this, I can almost guarantee you that I could come sit at this board and point to one or multiple of these things and say, it's a lack of this.
We're missing this.
It's a lack of this.
You're 100%.
You're forgetting this. You're not doing this. And so you're right. Like, the biggest part of our job, and I think we've talked about this on here, the biggest part of our job as dog professionals is in teaching people this exact thing. This is what your dog needs in order to be happy and healthy. And if you do these things, and we didn't talk about how, right? I don't like telling people how to train your dog.
Right.
Go out there and try it.
Right.
With all of these things in mind.
And you're going to figure some things out. The dog's going to teach you.
The dog is going to tell you.
Absolutely. Dude, let's go. Yeah.
But give your dog all of these things that they need. And I promise you, they will give you what you want.
Oh, 100%. Because again, that fulfillment is like massively important. You know what I mean? And without that fulfillment, like your dog strives to look for it. And oftentimes, and we've said this before on the program, but like, let's say it again, right? Like if you don't give your dog a job, they'll become self-employed and you'll absolutely hate their career choice. You know what I mean?
Hate it.
Unfulfilled dogs tear down curtains. Unfulfilled dogs pull up carpet. Unfulfilled dogs chew on couches. Unfulfilled dogs bite people. Unfulfilled dogs hide from people. Unfulfilled dogs, you know, are why they have behavioral problems, right? Like
name a behavior,
name
in any of it.
Unfulfilled, right? Like, but the fulfillment makes for a great dog. Right? When their needs are met, they're not searching to meet them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Dude, did we crush this?
I think we crushed it, man.
I think so too.
I want to real quick, just so that they, you know, like everybody who's listening has all these things like in categories and they can go back and listen to this to remind themselves in case they need it. Right. But like, I want to, if you don't mind, I'm going to read down through the list of things that we put together. So
guys, we usually have a board here that we kind of go off of. This one's, I agree with you. I think that's a good idea. This is a really important, list of topics.
So I want to go category by category, right? And just, you know, like, hey, I'll do the first one, you do the second one.
Love it.
Right after we come back from this short break. All right. Hey guys, we're back and we just had a funny, like whenever we were gone. Right. So like, for those of you who might only be listening to this, whenever, you know, like Chris was like, hey, do you want a little touch? And I was like, yeah, give me a touch. What we really meant was like whiskey. Like you can just top me off a little bit. Like in case you're not watching this, that was not an invitation to touch.
We did talk about cuddling on the floor and peeing on each other earlier. So,
and so now I can take a little touch apparently. No, that's hilarious. But guys, listen, we want to recap this episode just a little bit, just for reference for you, right? So that if you are listening to this or you are, you know, watching this, you can go back or, you know, pop right in here right at the end of the episode and really have some of these things that you need to make sure that you're making a checklist for, if that's what you need to do for you, however that works. And I think that we're just going to go back and forth on categories.
Yeah. And like we said, we took this straight off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So you can also Google this stuff. It's out there. It's everywhere. Google this thing.
This is you know, this particular format that we put this in today, you know, came right down off a college website, you know what I mean? And really super helpful. Right. So, first thing right here is biological needs. So let me just read through this for you and then you can take emotional needs. You ready for this? Yep. So biological needs for your canine: physical safety, nutrition, fresh water, sufficient exercise, indoor climate controlled shelter whenever possible, especially important here in the South, gentle grooming techniques and gentle veterinary care.
And I want to hit more, just a tad more on exercise. Mm-hmm. Your dog needs to run, period.
Sure they do.
Right? Unless you have a pug, please give your dog an opportunity to run.
What do you got for emotional needs, man?
Emotional needs. Let's go. So after bio, emotional needs: trust, consistency, love, and novelty.
Absolutely.
New experiences.
Social needs, right? Secure attachment, bonding, and play. You guys need to be doing those things.
And you're going to enjoy it. Training needs next: vocabulary and do no harm. Again, vocabulary, not necessarily only meaning your words,
right,
but what you're portraying to that dog and what you're giving off.
And the full experience of you, right? So like, make sure that, you know, you're curating that in a really helpful way for your dog, right? And then cognitive needs is the top of the pyramid, right? And it's where the problem solving is, right? So make sure that you're giving your dogs little, you know, tricks, tips, and tools to, you know, kind of try to figure out in their world, right? You know, put their meal in a box and let them kick it around or something, you know, like there's all kinds of wobble kongs out there. And, you know, I forget, man, there's a line of toys out there that you can buy that are like, you know, puzzle boards and, you know, twister balls and all kinds of stuff. Cognitive needs, important stuff, man. Like, give them problems to solve for sure.
And one of the other ways that Maslow had this, or one of the websites had it, was giving your dog an ability to increase and be the best that they can be.
Absolutely.
Right? You're giving your dog everything they need to be the happy and healthy dog that they are. Give them an opportunity to test what they're capable of doing.
Absolutely.
Right?
And all of this leads back to that idea of being ultimately fulfilled. Guys, what does your dog need from you? We asked that question at the beginning of the episode. Your dog needs from you all these tools to feel healthy, happy, and fulfilled. Guys, we want to thank you for being with us again today. Train happy and stick with us. And until next time, we are Whiskey and Wolves. Cheers.
Cheers. Ready?
I actually, dude, honestly, I actually feel really good in my head.
The rest, it all starts with the head. The rest is
an issue right now.
Yeah.
But like,